Hell is behind, let's see what's ahead with the best games like Hades to play on PC. By now, you've probably completed Hades, headed back in to replay it all over again, spent all your savings on fan art of your favourite gods, and are looking into the possibility of marrying a virtual character. It's possible, by the way.
Of course, you're right.
Before you got to that point though, there was a lot of hard work thanks to Hades' fast-paced combat, the kind of fluid attacks that call for perfect precision. But with your mouse in one hand and keyboard under the other, Zagreus performed beautifully. Or if he didn't, now might be the time to invest in that new Lightspeed mouse you've had your eye on. Trust us, there are some tricky contenders up ahead, but with that Hero 25K sensor, you'll have it covered. Something simple to start with though is subscribing to Logitech G and hitting the notification bell so you never miss another video. So if you've escaped hell and still want more, here are the best games like Hades to play on PC. Unless you're one of those incredible speedrunners who make us want to give up on ever escaping hell, you probably found yourself hanging around in the House of Hades a fair amount. That's because Hades can be a challenge. And if you loved that roguelike cycle of fight, die, 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 why do I always die? Then Dead Cells is here for you, you masochist. It's a procedurally generated journey through a series of different dungeons where every second is filled with colourful exploding combat. Sounds familiar? Although in this game you're a reanimated corpse rather than a hot god, and at some point you'll drop your trusty sword for a frying pan. Not only will it be more powerful than a blade, but it also makes the most satisfying pan sound when you beat enemies. If you enjoyed that varied selection of boons in Hades, then you'll love this variation of weapons, from traps and bows to grenades, and yes, pans. What better place to go looking for a similar game than the same developers? Transistor came years before the release of Hades, but you can definitely see influences that made it into the roguelike. The fast and fluid combat takes time to master, but is incredibly satisfying when you do. The arena-style fights have limited space to dodge and run, and you're hefting a weapon so big it feels more like it's wielding you at times. And also the fact that it tells you what to do.
Okay, let's go.
A reminder that if an inanimate object starts giving you instructions, definitely listen. Yes, Toaster, I will subscribe to Logitech G. The story is emotional and character-rich and gives every moment of combat meaning, just like your travels through hell. Despite all this, Hades is in no way any kind of copy. Transistor is a unique challenge all on its own. But yes, before you ask, the voice acting is still amazing, and you may form a crush on the sword.
There. Together again.
A lot of us who played and loved Hades didn't know roguelikes were our thing, so for those that aren't sure that they want to delve into endless dungeons again, here's something a little different. Hyper Light Drifter is an RPG inspired by the likes of Zelda and Studio Ghibli, something you can see in every perfect neon pixel. You'll spend your time wandering the crumbling world and fighting the strange creatures that inhabit it, as well as gleaming the odd moment of story from an NPC's picture-based chats. Ah, yes, I totally understand your meaning, friend. I'm just going to nod my head as if I agree. Combat sees you switching between your energy sword and pistol with fast-paced dashes saving you in between, so it won't feel too far in the future for anyone who's enjoyed the similarly smooth combat of Hades. You even start in a pool of blood. How comforting and familiar. If you want a variation on the traditional combat of a roguelike, then why not play with the hand Slay the Spire deals you? Yes, that is a terrible pun because in this game you get closer to the boss by deck building. Both genres intertwine perfectly. You get better at using cards strategically while learning what works on the enemies you face time and time again, but still inevitably die and end up starting all over again. Like every other run though, you know this next one will be the one. You just hope the cards will be the ones you want, and then you'll be poisoning everything in sight in no time. You can pick from 4 characters to start who each have different decks to work from, such as weird folklore poison creature and weird dude with sword, so there is plenty of replayability if you truly are a glutton for punishment. Which, like everyone else enjoying a list of roguelikes, you probably are. You may think you've journeyed to hell and Hades, but wait till you've trampled through the dank caverns of Darkest Dungeon. This is roguelike hell, not because it's unbelievably difficult, but because the setting is gruesome and evil. But trust us, once you start, you'll want to keep heading back. This gothic story takes your flawed adventurers through many creepy crypts and to face many twisted foes. But that's not all. Getting to 0 HP isn't the only thing that can send your fighters running for the tavern. This is a roguelike where famine, disease, and stress are just as detrimental as taking a scratch from a pig rat person. Something Zagreus never had to compete with being a god, but much more realistic for us mortals. We'd all be paranoid if we just dealt with that.
Be gone, fiend.
Luckily, we have digital explorers to do it for us. Now back to the darkness with you all, while we enjoy a nice cup of tea. You may think Zagreus and Hades have an unusual family dynamic, but how does intergenerational dungeon delving sound? Children of Morta revolves around the Bergson family, who fight the evil that dwells in the caverns beneath their living room. And yes, we really want a secret door behind our fireplace, but we hope ours leads somewhere with a crackling fire, not cracking bones. As each member of the family, you can hack and slash your way through procedurally generated dungeons alone or in co-op, with everyone having unique weapons and abilities from a standard sword slash to long-ranged bow attack. Each pixel cavern cleared progresses you to the next stage, but being a roguelike, you'll likely die plenty of times along the way, and similarly to Hades, you're rewarded when you do. There's always another cutscene with a little more story revealed and character development, which makes dying something you almost look forward to. Almost. The Binding of Issac may look a tad simple compared to the grand halls of hell, but do not let that deceive you. Behind the hand-drawn looking bauble people is an incredibly complex and difficult game, with a story that goes a lot deeper than you could ever imagine. But we don't want to spoil that or put you off, so delve in and discover that for yourself. It relies on shooting your tears at enemies to kill them, and each run through the basement of monsters is totally random. So just as you think you're getting the hang of it, something new and horrifying will appear and make you realise that using tears to win feels all too apt. There isn't the same heroic selection of weapons, nor the glamour of attractive gods to guide you, but if you want a biblical tale rather than a Greek one, The Binding of Issac is a roguelike you'll want to beat. Just so you can escape. Despite being set in hell, as we said before, Hades is actually pretty nice. It makes the afterlife seem okay, if you're a god and not someone doomed to push a boulder up a hill, of course.
You're always here for me, Baldy. Cheers.
Curse of the Dead Gods, then, is what hell would actually feel like. Endless dark dungeons, terrifying enemies, and blood sacrifices. As someone seeking untold treasures, you find yourself trapped in a cursed temple, fighting your way through to collect gold and power, but maybe pick up a few curses along the way. Yes, every run has a curse meter, and entering new rooms or getting hit with purple corrupted energy adds to it until you receive a new powerful curse that helps and hinders at the same time. Luckily though, you have a huge arsenal of different weapons at your disposal, so it's not totally hopeless. Each one requires some level of skill to swing and parry at just the right moments, so you don't end up, like that. One of the reasons Hades is such a fantastic roguelike is that it makes dying and returning to the pool of blood valuable. There'll be new characters to meet, more of the story to learn, and upgrades you can get. Well, Moonlighter has a similar feeling in that when you leave the dungeon, you return to your regular life of shopkeeping. There's a home to return to, not just a starting point. Oh, and a protagonist who secretly dreams of being someone else. Yeah, it all fits. While Will has humble beginnings, that doesn't mean the combat doesn't get tricky as he ventures out to other realms in search of things to sell and to test himself as an adventurer. Enemies and bosses lurk in various dungeons, and for something with an adorable pixel shop to run, there is some serious mastery needed. It's a subtle variation being a roguelite, but the basic fight, die, get better, repeat are similar. And there goes my beautiful loot. So those were the best games like Hades to play on PC. Let us know in the comments what universes you visit after you've escaped hell, and if you enjoyed, give this video a like. To make sure you never miss another video about all the games you love, subscribe to Logitech G and hit the notification bell. We'll see you in the next one, if we can just finish this level.